Great, good afternoon. Thank you all for coming along. This is how to do digital, just to make sure you're in the right place. Hopefully you are. It's brought to us by Creative Skills Set. We'll talk a little bit more about them later on. But to start things off, one of the things we wanted to do was to give you a bit of a showcase of some great stuff that's been done in digital by our panelists today. So if I can just move on quickly with bringing them up and kicking them off. Kat, are you first?
I am.
So Kat is Head of Digital at Fremantle Media UK.
So I could do the long walk. Hi, everyone. So I've been asked to talk about Fremantle's digital successes, particularly with brand extensions, and I couldn't do that without talking about two of our biggest shows, and particularly the apps that we've created around those two shows. So a little bit of an overview. Oh, thank you. So a little bit of an overview there and a few stats. So the Britain's Got Talent app, I'd say is probably our hottest digital property around both shows actually. And here are some stats. So 1.5 million downloads last series, which is a 40% increase from last series, which is incredible. Peak 243,000 unique users, 80% engagement across the series, 1 million hits the buzzer midweek, and premium in-app voting. And for us at Fremantle, it's not just the scale of the app that for us measures success. I think it's actually a lot harder than people think to engage audiences through technology on these large, high-profile shows. So you might think it's really easy if you have a large TV audience, and that naturally equates to a large digital audience, but actually trying to appeal to a really broad demographic on digital, on quite a traditional family entertainment show that's a well-established format is actually very hard. So for us to have 80% of everyone who had that app open, actively engaging while the show is on is no mean feat. And I would attribute the success to a real focus on developing real editorially focused features. So in-app predictions, polling, voting, the virtual buzzer, which was really successful midweek as well. And all this allows viewers to register their feelings about the contestants. And the app is built around the live experience, which has become a fundamental part of the experience of watching the show. And then just to talk briefly about X Factor. One of the reasons that we regard this as such a digital success is not just that we've created the ultimate companion piece to the show, but its ability to consistently innovate and create new ways for our audience to engage with the show. So the fact that we are drastically increasing audiences in this space, so 60% from last year, on a show that's already in its 11th series, I think is a huge success. I'm just going to talk about some of the key innovations of the app last year. So the jukebox vote. This allowed viewers to vote for what song that each contestant would sing, and what we found is giving viewers control over what they would watch meant that people were more engaged and would have an investment in the outcome, so they're more likely to tune in. We had 1 million votes for that, which was fantastic. Premium. First terrestrial UK show to successfully and seamlessly deliver premium in-app voting. This was a huge technical and creative challenge on what is one of the UK's biggest voting shows. And this turned the app into a crucial piece of the format. And fifth judge. And judging by the huge increase in usage numbers, this really caught viewers' imagination and made them feel part of the show. So we are continually seeking to innovate across our digital platforms, commercially as well as creatively. So to continue using X Factor as an example, I think the X Factor has really broken new ground in commercialising second screen, which I don't think any other app in the UK or outside of the UK has been able to do. So I genuinely think we've set a standard in the marketplace. A big commercial innovation for us is ad sync. So during the ad break on air, the app also pays an interactive promotion for brand. And last year, this resulted in record participation and click-through rates for brands. We also developed microtransactions on iTunes and in-app voting revenue as well. And in addition to all this, we also create about 4 to 5 hours of branded content around these two shows, on top of product placement, experiential and digital campaigns for brands. So we've also developed across social media a network of about 13 million across Twitter and Facebook and 170 million views across the series on YouTube. And this is a network, this is a distribution network that's extremely attractive to brands. So the end result has been a massive increase in engagement with the X Factor compared to previous years, both during the show and outside transmission. So every single week, more than 500,000 users use the app well over 1 million times, watching over 500,000 videos, so plus a huge interaction and integration with the show itself through fifth judge and voting. And I also just wanted to quickly mention The Apprentice, which is also a massive success for us, a personal favourite to work on, and an example of a very different brand extension. So I've got a little clip of some of the stuff we did last year. So, The Apprentice. So creation of original brands alongside the main show and You're Fired. Matt Edmondson's funny bits, awkward conversations, and the Brett Domino songs did really well. And real examples of smart ways that we use talent that are relevant to that platform. We also featured in You're Fired as well, so it's great on-air call to action. 3 times many viewers on the Apprentice website than on The Voice. Online content put into the Switchover show, and again using big established talent. We also ran a very innovative campaign on Twitter alongside it, but I'm not allowed to talk about Twitter because the expert is here. And I did that in 10 minutes, 41 seconds.
Great, quite a set of achievements. Next up to talk to us, we have Richard, who's the network manager of Jamie Oliver's FoodTube.
Thank you. Hello. Right. I'll press the button then. Okay, let me. I'm here to talk about FoodTube and Jamie Oliver's transition from TV to online, which was a tricky one and something that a lot of people in our industry and we're a traditional independent production company are finding quite difficult to navigate their path through. So that's just a little bit about what we are, what we do. It's come from a need for Jamie to create a platform, and he felt that there was certainly niches in the food industry with chefs that we meet on a daily basis that come into our production company, maybe not quite right for the main broadcasters, but there was we could see that there was definitely going to be some sort of fan base for them. So we created FoodTube, which was then the platform that we could then promote other talent onto this new digital world that we all live in. So in January 2013, we launched FoodTube, and YouTube themselves said that if we were to get 100,000 subscribers by the end of year 1, we'd be doing a pretty good thing. We reached 100,000 subscribers on our eve of launch, and that was through a viral video that we used to transition Jamie from being the TV presenter that he's known as, the cook in the UK, and in America he's known as the shit stirrer and the person that goes out to campaign for stuff. But in the UK and on FoodTube, we wanted him to be the Jamie that we see on a daily basis in the office. He's a bit of a goof, a bit of a geek, but basically he wants to just educate people on how to feed themselves better. So we created a little viral video that helped to promote the launch of our new channel. It gave the viewers the ability to slap Jamie, which a lot of people found very satisfying. You could use the YouTube annotations that would by way of skipping around the YouTube sphere and punching Jamie in the face, which was very successful. And as I say, we got 100,000 by the eve of our launch. Our growth continues at a pace. We're all about loving food. We're key. Those values that we hold dear are the same values that we would apply to our Channel 4 shows, and our content is of quality, which is exactly what this new digital age people need. They want a different place for that content to sit. They want to be able to consume that media that you're giving them in 3 minutes. But when we came across to this platform, we didn't really understand the audience, and I think that's the biggest thing that you need to do, is to work out who your audience are and what they're expecting to see from you. We thought it'd be really easy to use Jamie to just create recipe videos. We could lift them from our shows, and that does work. Your archive of content is a really useful tool for you to get onto this platform. But actually, if you want to create viable original content for YouTube, it needs to be a dialogue, and you need to listen to that audience and understand what they're expecting to see from you. So we in the beginning, in the very early days, we got punished, we got spanked, the audience left us because we were giving them a TV show. We thought that's exactly what we know how to do. but actually it's a completely different grammar. The TV tricks that we all use on a daily basis, the beautiful title sequence, the lovely graphics, the beautiful lead-in, the walking shots and the travelling shots, the YouTube audience don't require that. They just want you to get straight to the point, give them what they exactly want, and in that 3 minutes that they've got while they're sitting at their work desk. And so that's how we got we listen to the audience, and we watch the demographics and the audience retention figures in the background of YouTube. It's really helpful for you to understand exactly how to work and to create your shows, and they are your commissioning editors essentially. We create different styles of content, so we've looked around and we understand what YouTube wants. We have Jamie on his iPhone for some stuff, which is the sort of the vlog items, where the audience love to be able to see him at home, seeing what he's doing, what he's eating today is a great use of that sort of tool. We do full recipes with Jamie. We've learned that actually the audience are there, but they don't want to see him cooking the very complicated dishes. It's actually the how to poach an egg is our top rating video. It's just people are on this platform they're looking for, and how to is a really useful search term for you to get them to. So what we do is we use Jamie sparingly on the channel, but when they land there, we provide them with chef friends of his that we created this platform for, like Gennaro Contaldo, DJ Barbecue, who are maybe a little slightly more niche. The audience come for Jamie, but then they stick around for these guys. So in doing that, we have generated a sort of a small boutique network of channels, because there are lots of niches in the cooking trade that we have. So we've got 20 niche channels in our network, got over 1.5 million subscribers in that network, 79 million views. But it's essentially one of our new social media platforms that we as Jamie Oliver use to reach those audiences. And it's proving mightily successful for us. So yeah, there's some stats up there for you to see. So we've grown quickly. We are the largest cooking channel in Europe now. We are fast approaching our 1 million subscriber mark, which is great. We've been on the platform for 18 months, and we now have those 20 other channels in our network to feed our audience. One of the channels in the network is DrinksTube, which is our natural sister for FoodTube. We can easily pull an audience in with how to make a beautiful roast loin of pork, and then direct them at our sister channel, DrinksTube, where they can get a lovely drink that's served with that, be that a cocktail, a beer, or a wine or a spirit and stuff. So that is our first sort of major foray into using brand content. That's in partnership with Bacardi, who are our spirits brand for that DrinksTube channel. So it's part funded by those guys as well. So there's a real interesting sort of development in how we fund our content, because we make quality content the same way that we would for Channel 4. So there are, similar to Channel 4, there's those costs involved. We are a production company that has quite large overheads, and we have to make them pay for themselves. The network and the channels and the content that we're creating on the FoodTube and in the network is perfectly targeted at this digital audience. Our audience retention rates are 70% and above, which is amazing for this kind of content. We listen to the audience. So just to finish up, I think TV is great, and TV will carry on, and Jamie will still be on telly for many years to come. But it's an exclusive relationship that the audience have, and as TV makers that you have with your content. It's nothing shared. You keep it from the opposition. On YouTube, it's all about collaborating. You need to collaborate on YouTube. You need to share those ideas and to share the audiences, because they're only one click away, and you can lose them quite quickly as well. So I've got some round of applause coming from behind. So that's all I do. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. And Rich, I think you're the first person I've ever met that's exceeded their year one target before you even started.
Yes.
Quite incredible. Next up to show us what they've been up to is Dan Biddle, who's Head of Broadcast Partnerships at Twitter.
Hi. So yeah, I don't actually make content at all. I work for a company that sort of is a conduit for content. So hopefully I've got a few ideas about how to do digital, which is an interesting title for this sort of session that we're having this in 2014. It feels like a sort of a howl of like, how do we do digital in 2014? Feels more like the question you're asking is actually, how do you do TV? Because you are all digital. So if you're making TV, I hate to break it to you, you are making a digital piece of content. So it's just how do we extend our boundaries? How do we extend our perceptions and use all of the digital platforms? That's the question that you're probably actually asking. So to give a bit of context of where you are and where your audience is, this is a tweet that we found a little while ago from Cameron Power, which says, WTF is wrong with this dude? What is he looking at? The world? And if we zoom in on this poor, forlorn soul, we can see that he is the only person not currently with his eyes on a screen. And he's probably wondering, where's my charger? And so this is essentially the train platform. This is the commute. And this is also your couch at home. This is what we face. We have a second screen all the time. And we did a study in conjunction with ThinkBox, who did some audience research. And as you can see here, they were filming audiences, filming all of the screens that they were working on to look at how audience behavior is changing. And this behavior, as you can see here from this young fellow here and all of the other ones, is what they call meerkatting. It's now that ability that it's not split attention, it's double attention. It's that when people are watching, they're doing various things. They are across all platforms, they are across all screens. So how do you make that work for you? How do you make that work for television or for any medium? Well, here's a man. Here's a man who makes it work for television and work for will.i.am. will.i.am, one of the star coaches on The Voice, who is from the future and has come back to show us the way. Essentially, who else? But he is obviously one of the live coaches around The Voice, and during one of the shows, before he went on, he started asking people he's tweeting out to people, what pair of glasses should I wear? And it ended up with another tweet saying, I just can't decide. And so he's now wearing 3 pairs of glasses. The cameras roll, he's still wearing his 3 pairs of glasses at the beginning of the show. So he goes back to business as usual. Bit of a selfie moment. It's not exactly Ellen, but it's quite a lot of retweets there. Poor Tom doesn't really know what's going on. But the fact is he's back in business and the show is rolling. But he's also two-screening. will.i.am has his iPad open at all times. He's watching the Twitter conversation. He's gauging the audience reaction. And at this point, he looks down, checks out his Twitter feed, and he sees this. And then he sees this. And then when he sees this, he knows he's got himself a situation. He knows he's got a meme. So the great thing about a hashtag, the great thing about Twitter is when you're the brand or the show or the talent, you do have an authoritative voice. You've got more followers. Will's obviously from the future. He's had more time to gain those followers. He's cheating. But he does have the ability to throw another log on the fire of that conversation. So he tweets again, more glasses, puts a hashtag on it, glass face, and so lets it roll. So we now have more and more tweets coming through, more and more pictures being shared, as you can see, in conjunction with the show. People are taking photos in front of their television, joining will.i.am. And all the generations are represented. Queen Kylie gets involved. And at the end, Will thanks the audience for being involved in the worldwide global trend that they were part of. Not just a show that's watched by millions, but a show that is enjoyed and interacted with by hundreds of thousands of people. And I guess where we're getting to now, and I tend not to do what I call jazz hands that much nowadays. I tend to go in and talk quite seriously about what people want to get from digital, what people want to get out of their Twitter feeds from using social media. And it's not a suck it and see anymore. It is actually, let's be focused. What is the outcome we want from this? What is our goal? Is it revenue? Is it reach? Is it impact? Is it subscriptions? What do we want? Now, how do we build a strategy around that? How are we going to use the various platforms that we have? How are we going to use Twitter to reach people in real time and bring people towards the shows and the brands? And then actions, which are not the same as strategy. The actions are then how are you going to use those platforms? What are the bait and switch that you're going to use to get people to do the things like Glassface with will.i.am? And a good example of this is the Brits. Brits 2014 ran a live Twitter vote. Obviously, the Brits is the big music awards show in the UK. One of the awards was actually decided on the night by the audience on Twitter. So they did a call to action for the best UK video. Use hashtag Brits 2014 and then give the name of your video. Ellie Goulding, One Direction. One Direction may have won, I can't remember. But anyway, during that show, they had 78,000 tweets per minute. They actually had 4 million tweets around the entire show. 2 million of those were votes for the competition. They ran it over the course of about an hour, closed the voting, had it all verified, and they pronounced the winners and gave the award to One Direction right there in the studio in the big show. And as you can see, this is the histogram of tweets per minute. This is a graph of those, if it stops strobing. We have the call to action there, where the maximum number of tweets comes in. There's a second call to action in the middle. There's another moment where Beyonce plays. And then at the end, there's the final call to action that says, you've got 2 minutes to vote, keep voting. Now, that's great. How do we make the Brits the most social Brits ever? That was one of the goals. But how do you make some money out of that as well? How do you make something, how do you build revenue out of that? Well, the Brits had digital rights to put the clips from the Brits as it went out live. It was like streaming live on YouTube internationally, so it was a massive international event. And they were also able to live clip the big moments and put them into Twitter. Quickly, fast. So the big performance that everyone was talking about, they immediately got it out into Twitter. And they were able to sell with pre-roll on those clips to VO5. So VO5 sponsored, not the Brits, that's brought to you by MasterCard, but they sponsored the Brits clips in Twitter. So the Brits were able to open a new revenue stream by A, being in real time with the real-time video, about which everyone was talking, or at least there were 4 million tweets at that moment. And they knew that they were sending loads of people to Twitter at that moment in time to be activated, to be on the platform, to be part of that second screen moment with the vote. So they were able to make that something that worked for them, not just as content, but also as revenue. In a completely different fashion, you've got something like The Wrong Mans. So The Wrong Mans, which is James Corden and Matt Bateman's show, comedy drama series, it was fantastic. I don't know if anyone saw it. Really, really good. And so they decided to use Twitter in an interesting way and use their talent in an interesting way on Twitter. Episode 4 was on BBC Two at 9 p.m. on this particular day. They decided to say, right, Matt, rather than do a live tweet of the episode in itself, they thought, how do we bring people who haven't watched the show yet, maybe haven't watched episode 1, maybe thinking about doing it on iPlayer, but maybe won't get around to it. How do we make people feel like they should come and watch episode 4 live? They said they put out a call to action with these two talents with their millions of followers and said, we are going to play YouTube, we're going to go to iPlayer at 7:30 and we're going to press play on episode 1. And James and Matt will live tweet through that. Talk about the experience of making the show, answer questions, share that watching moment on catch-up. At 8 o'clock, we're watching episode 2. At 8:30, we're watching episode 3, and we're going to tweet all the way up to episode 4, which is live on BBC Two tonight. Now's your chance to catch up. Now's your chance to join in this amazing piece of content that these two guys wrote, created, and have such belief in. They wanted to be part of that audience experience in the live moment at 9 o'clock on BBC Two. And the final thing is that I'll bring in this 10 minutes is find the tweet spot. At a very basic level, what should everybody be doing with something like Twitter, a platform that's real time, that goes alongside everybody's content? It's to be looking at what's in the conversation, what's in your shows. Twitter and TV goes hand in hand. So this is an example of how Twitter works around live events and live moments. This is Ed Miliband at the dispatch box during the last budget. And during that, obviously, George Osborne had joined Twitter that day, and the government had released #AspirationNation as their sort of call to action on Twitter. This is it. We're all in it together. This is our moment. Meanwhile, and what we have here over this clip is a blue line that's going to show you the sort of traffic second by second of #AspirationNation in blue. And then the traffic for #downgraded chancellor, as you can see, the impact of dropping a hashtag at the dispatch box. Boom. And of course, that's just playing live on Parliament Today or on the news. But they know that the that actually does fit into a tweet. We were looking at it going, that sounds like more than 140 characters. In a tweet, plus a picture, when the picture of Smiling George also carrying the message that they're getting across at the dispatch box. So it goes out on one platform where everyone is suddenly talking about it. The tweet, the content itself, the line itself, they tweet out from theirs and they get 1,500 plus retweets on that. And that is the way to do it. And if the politicians are getting it right, I think TV can do it. And TV has the advantage of, in most cases, I mean, a big live show, you've got to be more live. It does allow you to interact with the audience more. But in most recorded situations, you know how you have constructed the television show. You know the cadence and the rhythm. You know what's going to make people go, ooh, ah. That's what they're going to want to tweet about. Here's an example, again, of a histogram of tweets per minute around a movie called Taken, the Liam Neeson movie. As you can see, there's a big spike there about a third of the way in, which is Liam's, I don't know who you are, but I will find you and I will kill you. He's Welsh? No. Anyway, I've had better ones. The thing is, on a different day, on a different audience, different channel, exactly the same pattern of Twitter activity. And that's what you see again and again with formats, with dramas, with comedies. You can use Twitter to read your audience. You can see what they're doing in real time, and you can also see what they do around certain shows. So that all you need to do as a creator, at the lightest touch, if you want to get involved in social and get onto Twitter and have impact around your shows, is to be there live when everyone's talking about it. And you know what everyone's going to be talking about because you've made the show to have those moments, those tweet spot moments. And you just get them ready, clip them up, have them ready to go out with your channel social or with your brand social or with your talent. Give them these moments to share. Give people the tweet they wish they'd tweeted. Give them that serotonin tweet that they go, that's how I feel about this show. So they can tweet the right line with the right content and the best possible look for them. Here, again, The Apprentice, you don't even need a picture. Sometimes, if you just catch the mood, you know that they know over the course of the series that this guy here, Jason, has been dead man walking for a long time in The Apprentice, but everybody has got behind him as the underdog. So when he finally gets fired, they know that this tweet is all they need to do. People will be going, oh, understand your show, you understand your audience. And so this is a rather dry slide that just suggests that you can look at your goals and your strategies and your actions at the same time. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Dan. I love tweets per minute. You know you're onto something when your company name starts getting used in an acronym that becomes industry standard with tweets per minute and TPM. Just before we move on, in terms of myself, I'm the Games Commissioner at Channel 4, so I thought it was worthwhile firing up a couple of quick videos showing you the sort of things I do as well. So I'll show you two games. The first is from a Made in Chelsea mobile game that we did. So as I mentioned at the start, this session is brought to us by Creative Skill Set. So we've got a little bit of a show reel from them as well. Just in case anyone doesn't know, Creative Skill Set is the skills council that ensures all our creative industries have the right talent that we need now and in the future to make sure we can go on creating some of this amazing content, whether it's across TV or games or apps or YouTube. So we'll have some of the questions later around skills, but just to give you a quick demo of what they do as well. And I know from my own point of view, from years in a games development studio, training was often something that was easily forgotten in the day-to-day of meeting milestones. But there is a lot of help Creative Skill Set can bring to any company, including funding, training and various other things. So we've got Sarah and Ruth from Creative Skill Set in the front row here. Come and speak to them later on if you'd like to find out more. But now we got into the juicy bit, which is grilling some of these folks on what's been involved in some of the showcase material you've just seen and some of the challenges. Does anyone in the audience have any questions, or will I land them with my ones to start with? Got some questions?
Just a question for Richard.
Yeah, so just on the microphone, if you can say who you are, and if you can keep the questions brief so that we'll try and get through as many as possible, please.
My name's Kieran and I'm from a website called Hive. Check it out. So the question is for Richard. Just want to ask you, you talked about like obviously you're on YouTube, so you get Google Analytics all in real time, and you can see all the different demographics watching FoodTube. And I'm just wondering, as FoodTube has developed, have you changed how you film and stuff based on this kind of real-time data? And if you had a few examples of how you change things up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's key to us that those analytics are your basically they're the commissioner. They tell you how to make those new shows. And as I say, we started off in the beginning with a nice title sequence and Jamie blabbering for a minute or so, and we could watch the graph. And by the time Jamie had finished blathering, we'd lost 40% of the audience from that video. So it was, why are they disappearing? Where are they going? Why are they disappearing from our video? So we changed that. We loaded everything up at the front, and that's, you need to hook them straight into that, and you can get that 90–95%. Keep them going until the very end. Another interesting thing at the very end that we found that we would, in a traditional way, when we'd plate up that lovely dish of food. Jamie would finish up, they go, so there you go, that's a lovely chicken dish that I've done for you. If you want to see more of this, click on this link, do this, all the housekeeping that came after it. As soon as he puts the first piece of chicken on that plate, the audience goes. They're dropped off to 20%, so you're wasting another minute's worth of content. So we had to shift everything, hold that moment back for when he plates up to the bitter end, so that he can, we can get those people, and you keep them in your little ecosystem. And if you can link them to another video, then they're not going to get taken away by the shiny, flashy things on the right-hand side of that screen. So yeah, so the analytics are key to us. The demographics on YouTube are completely, well, they're opposite from what we found in the rest of our business, which is, 65% female, 25 to 45 is our sort of core demographic in our magazines, restaurants, and all the other bits and pieces. On YouTube, it's 65% male, same core demographic, 25 to 45. But it's just interesting to see that these are the guys that are online that want to know maybe how to cook something for their missus when they come in. Just a little bit of a sneaky look at on the way back home from work and stuff. And it's really they're fascinating things, but you do have to. It rewrote our grammar as TV makers. We had to completely re-educate ourselves and re-engineer what we do to maybe be able to hook them and keep them there. Yeah.
Great.
Thanks.
Just good. Any other questions? One at the back there.
Hello, James Emptage from Telegraph Hill. It's a message for Dan. You mentioned about good uses of hashtags around live events, particularly around the Brits. What about uses of hashtags around live events that start to go wrong or aren't being managed correctly? For example, the other one around the Brits that night, which I think was hashtag prices surprises. What advice would you give for a live hashtag that's sort of spiralling out of control? I
think accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, don't mess with Mr. In between. You from that, whatever was around that hashtag and what the original goal was, I actually don't know what the originals, as I say, what did they want to get out of that particular hashtag, and what were they going for? There was probably, whatever content they were after is still in there, and they can still use that. I think if there's a brand issue going on, then there's all sorts of brands you can look at, like for instance O2 or Smart Cars or various others who have been able to work with sort of potentially negative outcomes around hashtags or on Twitter and turn those into very positive moments by being sort of human and responsive to those.
It's a good idea to try and own those bad experiences and try and either make a joke of it, or we had the egging incident on Britain's Got Talent, and then we put the clip out really quickly with quite a funny tweet, and it kind of helps diffuse the situation as well. But you can't control what happens on social, and the more you try, the worse it gets, I think, from my experience. You kind of have to.
I think with that particular tweet, I think it was when Simon Cowell got egged, there were various tweets going out, including should have gone on the Eggs Factor. So these things were going out around the BGT final, but in fact BGT tweeted out something like, "We'll be making omelettes in the break, anybody who wants to join us." And so that got over 8,000 tweets. It was the biggest tweet of the night. So by joining that conversation and by making, being part of it, rather than trying to ignore it, they went with that flow. And likewise, David Walliams tweeted on the night saying, "Now you know it's live." So the talent who had just experienced it also joined in that conversation and in that moment, so that theirs was the most valuable contributions.
I mean, Kat, amongst all your really impressive numbers, the one that got me was your 80% engagement.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about how you achieved that?
I think I think more people are using apps to interact with TV shows, and I think, as Dan said, we're all digital, and I think we expect it. What is exciting, we were surprised by those figures, and it's exciting that 80% of people that have the app open are actually playing all the things that we've devised along. So it's not only voting and obviously affecting the outcome of the show, but it's also, we did fun sort of BuzzFeed style quizzes, polls. But we also did it as, I think when we did X Factor last year, we did too much in the app, and the feedback we got was there was just too much happening. And it was really interesting to see the video you showed of people's sort of eye movements and how they interact. So what we tried to do is almost make it a format, and part of the format, so audiences they know when to expect when we push content out on the app, which has worked really, really well on Britain's Got Talent. I think we'll sort of push it even further on X Factor. So there's a sort of, they perform, they expect to be able to rate them, or the judges' comments, they expect to decide if they were right or not, or make a comment, or was that right, yes or no. So there's kind of moments in the show that we've built in that people are now expecting to interact. So I think that's why the engagement was so high.
Any other questions? Oh, well, I'll keep asking mine then. Great. Particularly Rich and Kat, in terms of your companies that have come from a more traditional linear background and are now in digital, I mean, how has that transition been, and how many people have moved over from that would have created traditional TV content, or have you had to hire in especially?
Well, I think it's been a difficult, long, 18 months in a way. This is we had, digital platform before, we've got apps, we've got all the other things, but this whole movement from one audience over here and thinking that they're the same audience over there, they're not. They are different. They're engaged. They're up at their screen. They will comment. They will let you know exactly what. They will thumb things up, thumb things down. Whereas the TV experience is much more. You'll make your show. 6 months later, it will come out on TV. And if you've missed the boat and you've missed that shot, then there's nothing you can do about it. On our digital platform, we're reacting all the time. We're trying not to bank too much content so that we can react to the ice bucket challenges, those sorts of things that hit those social media means, because this is another sort of another social media platform that we use, really we try and use really well.
But is it people that were working with you before digital that are able to? There
are some. I'm from an old TV background, old PM of various different Channel 4 and shows. But it's a very different skill set that you're asking for, and brilliantly the young 20-year-olds that are coming out of college now that have grown up with YouTube and understand this platform are actually your creators and your predators and your directors that can get you the best content, because some of the old dogs and the old cameramen and the old producers that we work with, they're not. There's a different language that they need to relearn. So there is definite. I'm seeing lots more new brilliant talent coming through, and we're trying to bring them through, but we're learning from them just as much as they're learning from us of how to make TV shows, and we see them come up through the ranks of FoodTube and maybe move on to Jamie's Channel 4 show as well. So there's a really nice sort of a training ground, but we're all learning together in a way. So it's
Kat, are you seeing that same sort of mix where it's a bit of the old and the new?
I think if you're creating brand extensions for TV shows, it's really good to have a sort of background and understand the show. And production's production, you're making content. I think we very rarely think of it as different things now, and lots of my team work across the TV team as well as the digital team. You're making content, you just need to understand your audiences, understand the platform and how you want to package it up and how you can amplify that either on social media or if you're pushing TV spots. So it's kind of, it all feels very integrated. Everyone's got that bit of background in TV. It's useful.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Okay. One of the challenges I had when I was running a games company certainly was finding that talent, and I get the sense from the television industry that it's as much about who you know as anything else. I mean, what's your experiences? I mean, Dan, yours is maybe closer to my background in terms of being digital. Where do you find your staff?
Well, I mean, our staff, it depends where it is. If it's, you know, we have a sales division, we have research division, and we have editorial. So my side, I work in the media partnerships team. So I used to work at the BBC, and I worked in social media across the piece. And therefore, when Twitter sort of knocked on the door, I was like, oh, this, yeah, natural progression. Likewise, we have someone working who joined us from The Guardian to talk about news and sport. We likewise. So we take people from experience with those backgrounds, able to converse with, you know, all of the faiths within that. I think what's quite interesting is hearing about the sort of the way that talent emerges for Twitter as a platform is often from that sort of voice that you can find. And the same way that journalists find stories on Twitter all the time, shows like The X Factor or The Apprentice, for instance, find talented writers on Twitter, often writing about their shows in the first place. I mean, there's a guy called Dave Levin who has done a lot of writing for The Voice and for other shows, and he'd started off writing a feed called The Dolphin Pub, which was just a very funny sort of Hackney-based commentary of life there. And because of that, he sort of met a few people, got followed by some influencers, and eventually landed jobs tweeting for some of the biggest brands in the world. So it's practice, you know, and there's no barrier to entry to starting in social. You just start.
I think that's you know, we've found, you know, lots of our staff come from the same pool that we all look for in TV, and so you get the same CVs coming through of APs and things and people like that and stuff. But actually, I find myself looking further down their CV now to those areas where you would breeze past before, where, you know, it's actually, you know, made a film at college or you know, produced my own stuff, and that's the key interesting piece for me. And if I can go and watch something on YouTube, or if they, you know, they have a YouTube channel already, then I know that they're going to understand this new way of working. And I think that's why, you know, if you look at, you know, the YouTube and the Google staff, you know, they are made up primarily of, you know, creators that have already been on that journey from, you know, 15 to 20, and they have, you know, have built up an audience. They're there, but they get snapped up by YouTube because they know that these are the guys that understand what this new world is that us old dinosaurs don't really, you know, understand too well. Really. So yeah, so I find myself looking down the list of their CVs and past the sort of the Channel 4 credits and then to the you know, I've done this myself sort of credit.
I think one of my most interesting train journeys recently was sitting in front of a grandmother and the granddaughter, and the granddaughter was explaining to the grandmother what Instagram and Twitter and YouTube were, and it was just using the most basic language you could imagine that both could communicate on, but this little girl had an amazing grasp of it, and used it actively, you know, almost a worrying amount from the sense I got. I mean, Kat, are you looking for the same sorts of things?
Yeah, I think in digital it's good to have a really broad experience, and I think for a long time when I sort of worked in TV, people didn't know what to do with me. I'd done drama, commercials, factual, entertainment, and then I turned down the TV roles and started working digital, and actually all that experience has been so useful because now we make content for brands, for broadcasters, for all sorts of different partnerships, and also we look to try and monetize it, which is obviously a big challenge. So you have to be creative in how you're working with brands and how you sell it, but also working in traditional TV formats. So the sort of munchy stuff we do long form, which goes to TV. So it's kind of having a bit of experience in all of those platforms and creating content for all of them is really good. Great.
Any other questions, or will I continue my list? Oh no, there's more questions now. Great, perfect. Chap at the back. There's a microphone somewhere.
Thank you. I'm Sam. I'm a development AP at Maverick. It's just about the development process that goes through in creating an app in conjunction with a TV show. So with YouTube, as you develop week by week, responding to feedback and to data. But when it comes to developing an app that has beats within a TV series, where does that development process start, and how do you structure that over the course of a year and then run up to a new series?
Well, it's pretty much full-time on both of those shows, actually, because they're so big. And every year we try to introduce new formats, so there's quite a lot of development time in there. I actually did the Voice app when we first launched that 2 series ago, and that was slightly more... that was interesting because it was a new format for the UK. So we spent a lot of time watching the American show and seeing what they'd done around the world globally. And then we devised a kind of, we devised a predictor, and we did a play along, and we watched the shows, and we played it, and we tested it. So there's a huge amount of development and sort of testing and understanding how to signpost what's in it, how we signpost it on air, how does the audience interact, how do we allow them to watch the show as well as interact. What would you want if you were an audience member? Do you want all this stuff? Do you not want this stuff? So we do a lot of work, we watch a lot of television, and then we go into a technical build, and then we're constantly testing and constantly trying to rework that so it fits in. And, you know, we learn a lot. Every single series we learn something new, but audience behaviours change as well quite drastically year on year. I mean, I think digital is vital to some of these big TV brands. X Factor's in Series 11 now, and we've just done Series 8 of Got Talent. We're constantly looking to try and get new audiences in, and digital is just the only way that we can do that.
Great. There was another question down the front somewhere. Was it yourself?
Hi, I'm Adam from BBC Worldwide. Less on Richard's case, but a lot of the examples that you were talking about were to do with live television and around Twitter, around live television. I wonder do you have any kind of thoughts or advice for how you do digital that's not live? You know, what is the long tail of digital in relation to programs? Do you put much effort or investment in that kind of thinking, or because I know algorithmically Twitter is kind of more set up for live, but I'm just interested in your thoughts on that.
When you say live, do you mean actually going out live, or because half of X Factor is pre-recorded? So what we do is try and create a sense that it is happening live. And as Dan was saying, we watch the shows in advance, we script everything in advance. We know what the highs will be, we know what the surprises will be, and we're ready with all of that scripted. Is that what you meant?
I meant just kind of people that aren't watching the show on a Saturday night, but perhaps are catching up in highlights a week later or even a month later, not just pertaining to Saturday night entertainment shows, but other shows, natural history and factual drama that people might not be watching when it is first transmitted.
Although the vast majority are. So, you know, and I mean, as you know, things like Netflix and whatever, you know, and VOD takes hand, but, you know, millions and millions of people are all watching the same thing at the same time. And, you know, with Twitter, what we've seen is what would have been called the water cooler TV of the day it's Twitter TV. You discuss it and you share the moment as you're watching it. And whether that's live TV because it's going out live and being live streamed like an X Factor final or the Brits, or it's live television going out in a synchronous way across, and everybody's seeing the same channel, the same set of channels. With VOD, for instance, that was the wrong man's example there, was an idea of this is appointment to view. We're going to make a moment of this. And you see that often with DVD releases and Blu-ray releases now. We will all unbox the next, the new Blu-ray of Star Trek Into Darkness together, and we will all watch it at 8 p.m. together and live tweet this together and make moments of it like that.
Question over here.
Hi, my name is Tanya. I'm from Finnish broadcasting company YLE. How would you advise the traditional TV producers or makers to go online with their programs or with each other's?
Well, I mean, you need, if you're just putting your content online that traditionally sits on TV, then you're certainly doing yourself out of a revenue stream with your worldwide global sales, because you're opening up, you know, giving away your content for free. But there are certain ways that, certainly from we work with Jamie's back catalogue of stuff, where it's all about the clips that in a way promote that show. So you're not putting out entire series online, but as these moments in Twitter are the same as your 3-minute promo or your 3-minute recipe video that we have from our main hour-long show, then it's a really good way to reach new audience and to find new people. You know, in America, they're saying that, you know, 70% of that Generation C demographic, you know, the 18 to 25-year-olds don't have cable. They watch all their content online, so they're consuming the media in a different way, and that's not saying that linear TV is going to disappear, but I think we've all seen numbers drop across the board of you know, for that primetime show at 9 p.m. on Saturdays is not where it was 4 years ago. That's because people are recording it, watching it online, but it's how they now discover your content, and the Facebooks and the Twitters and the shareable nature of that content is what's key to building those and keeping those audiences, I think. So it's very much worth doing. But if you want to make original content, it's a long game that we're all playing at the moment with making original content when no one's earning huge amounts of cash in this world, and you have to invest quite a lot, quite heavy, if you want to make worthwhile original content at the moment, because we're not kids in their bedrooms which are the ones that are making all the money, because they'd have one camera and they're generating millions of views from 13 to 17-year-olds. So you sort of have to work out who your audience is and whether it's the right place to put your content. Is my advice.
Great. I think we've got time for one last question, if there's any other burning issues. In which case, go on then, one last question now.
Just very quickly to that last point, sorry, I'm Richard Burdett from Horse and Country TV. To that last point, do you see what you do for Jamie as a marketing investment or as a future profit centre?
It's a way to reach an audience that we hadn't reached before. Like I say, the cystic 5% male, there's different demographic, but it's certainly about building the brand of Jamie and growing him wider than his TV. You know, he saw that a couple of years ago that there was this digital movement happening, this shift onto online, and he jumped on that, and he's always tries to be the first at the plate. There's not many other TV chefs or celebrities that have made the leap across, because there's not the £10,000 that they're going to get for the appearance on Jonathan Ross. They have to put a lot of their own time and their own money into this, creating that content. So it's a lost leader at the moment, but we're hoping that in 2-3 years' time we're going to be ahead of that curve, so we can be the place that you would go to get your online food. So it is all about building that brand. But taking a little bit of a risk and a punt that this is the way that it's going to go, really. So.
Okay, we're almost out of time, but I'd just like to wrap up by doing a quick poll of our panellists in terms of something you've seen that you've not been involved in working on yourself that's impressed you most in terms of digital content. Rich, anything jump out recently?
I think there's people like Jack and Finn, who are Jack's Gap, who are, if you don't know them, they're two twins that live online. They took a year out of university and they built this channel, and now they have 2.5 million, 3 million subscribers, hugely successful. But they took a step back away from their bedroom audience, where they were just vlogging about their daily lives. They took a step back. They took 3 months off that channel, and the audience were waiting and waiting and waiting. But they went away and they soul searched themselves as to what do we mean, what's our value in this world, because they'd grown up with the YouTube, but they couldn't see any value in what they were doing now. So then they went away and they did some charity gigs, and they went around India in tuk-tuks, and they created a documentary series of that. So it's a transition from out of their bedroom to India, and the audience, luckily and brilliantly for them, went with them, and they grew, and they collected a whole new audience that hadn't come across them before. So it was a moment of when the bedroom vloggers stepped out of their safe little world that they all inhabit, and it was a success, and hope to see more of that, I think, because these are the future creators and commissioners of 10 years down the line, I think.
Great. Dan?
I'm going to cheat and not use I don't want to pick out a favourite broadcaster, so I'm going to momentarily talk about General Electric and their Twitter feed and their Vine feeds and Instagram feeds. General Electric are essentially a massive engineering company who do really delightful content online. They do amazing photos, which they post on Twitter, and they do amazing Vines, which are the 6-second stop motion videos, using a hashtag called #6secondscience, which are just delightful moments of sort of clever chromatography using milk and food colouring, and showing, like they did a stream around Newton, Newton Week or Gravity Week, where everybody dropped an apple and then did something with it and then dropped it out of shot. So an apple always came, so they created this long chain. And what's interesting is that they're not doing that to be cool. They're not doing that because someone said, oh, we should be digital, we should be social. They're doing that because they want to reach, much as the food tube, they want to reach a new audience of potential engineers, where most people are going off and doing media degrees. They want people on these new platforms, which are essentially social media and media platforms, to see how cool, how influential, how beautiful engineering and big machinery and science can be, and to use a 6-second clip to be the gateway drug that is curiosity and wonder, to take someone deeper into a journey into potentially becoming a scientist, an engineer, and something amazing.
Great, okay.
I think it's really interesting that you picked a brand. That's really interesting rather than a broadcaster. I'm going to cheat a little bit because I'm sort of involved in this, but I'm not involved in what really excites me. And it's all the stuff that's coming out of Vice at the moment. I think one of the few companies that have made a transition from print to digital and really taken digital by storm, and they make absolutely brilliant content. And the Vice News strand, it's just really, I think it's brilliant.
Oh, brilliant selection. Thank you very much. Okay, that's about us for this afternoon. I'd just like to thank Creative Skillset for bringing this session to us today. If you do want to see anyone, we've got Sarah and Ruth in the front row here. Go up and speak to them afterwards. Otherwise, can I just get you to join me in thanking our great panellists for today?